job?" The boy nodded slightly, and Ains returned the gesture. Actually, this request. Before the boy could finish speaking, Ains raised his hand to interrupt. "My deepest apologies, but I've already made an agreement with someone else for a job, so I cannot accept your request right away." The air in the room seemed to shudder as he said this. The reaction of the Swords of Darkness was more intense than Ains' own. "Maman-san?" He asked for you by name. Peter's response filled Ains with doubt. Was a personal request something to be surprised about? However, that may be so, but should I not carry out the job I've been requested to do earlier? Ains' decision seemed to have been the right one. Some of the adventurers around him were nodding in approval. Just then, he had a flash of inspiration. "However, our job is hardly a request. If we don't meet any monsters, there won't be any pay to speak of." Peter's words to Ains trailed off, and he sounded reluctant to speak them. Being hired by the boy with the famous grandmother was a far cry from wandering around the place trying to kill monsters. That was why Peter sounded like he wanted to give up on the job. With that conclusion in mind, Ains gently said, "Then how about this, Peter-san? Beru-san has not told me about the job's details, payment, time frame, and such. I will hear him out and make my decision then. I'm all right with that, of course. Though I'd like to finish it quickly, it can wait a day or two. Then, please allow my friends from Swords of Darkness to be present during the job briefing. No, I should say, if the negotiations fall through, I would like the privilege of carrying out my previous task first." "Maman-san, is it all right for us to come with you?" "Of course. I hope you will be party to the discussion and provide your opinions." After the Swords of Darkness gave their approval, Ains and company returned to the room from just now. He felt very busy. Once more, Ains smiled bitterly and took his seat from just now. Narbril sat beside him, while the boy was one seat away from them. The Swords of Darkness went back to their previous places. The first to speak among them was, of course, the boy. The receptionist mentioned it earlier, but I think it would be best if I introduced myself. I am Nfiria Berar, and I work as a herbalist in this city. As for the details of the job, I will soon be heading into the nearby forest as planned. Since everyone knows the forest is dangerous, I was hoping that you could be my guardians, as well as help in harvesting herbs if possible." "Bodyguarding, huh? I see." Ains nodded calmly. He had the feeling that this job would be a troublesome one. Ains knew he was powerful, and he could probably exterminate any attacking monster when working with Narbril. However, he was not as confident when it came to carrying out an escort mission. This was because Ains and Narbril were both magic casters, and lacked the specialized magic and skills needed to become shields for other people. Compared to the usual amount, the payment will be, "Please hold on a moment. The task of bodyguarding suits you well. Then, Peter-san, would you like me to take you on instead?" If it's a job that involves bodyguarding and harvesting herbs, don't you think we'd be more effective with Lukrut-san the ranger and Dine-san the druid?" "Oh. Good eye, Maman-sure. As a druid, I can show my true ability in the forest, perhaps even more so than Lukrut the ranger." Dine's baritone seemed to carry an undercurrent of pride. Lukrut was not happy and said, "Dine-san, you really went and said it, huh? It's an undeniable truth, given the abilities of druids. And don't forget that I'm trained in herbalism too." "Humph, Peter, I'm fine too. I'll show you who's the better of us, between Druid-san and myself." "I'll take that to be agreement, then. If we see any monsters on the way, we'll kill them and claim the reward when we get back to town. As for Beru-san's payment, what if we divided it equally, Peter-san?" "If you're fine with it, then I have no objections, Maman-san." "Beru-san, sorry for the wait. If it's all right with you, could you permit everyone here to accept the job that you just offered?" "I don't mind that." "Then, I'll be counting on all of you. You can just call me Nfiria." Ains and the others began introducing themselves to Nfiria. Although Narbril lashed Lukrut with her sharp tongue, they managed to successfully complete their self-introductions. Then, what I've done in the past is to proceed to Karn village to set up a base of operations before venturing into the forest. The amount of time we'll spend depends on the herbs that we can gather, but it will be 3 days at the latest. In the past, it's been a couple of days on average. Will we be walking there? Ah, yes. There will be a horse cart, but it'll be full of pots and bottles for gathering herbs, so there's not much room for you to ride. Can we replenish our rations in Karn village? Water should be fine, but food might be a problem, because Karn village isn't very big. The Swords of Darkness began discussing the preparations for the journey, as well as asking Fyria several questions. As Ains saw this, he decided to speak up as well. May I ask a few questions? After seeing Fyria smile and nod in reply, Ains began with the first question. Why me? I've only arrived in this city by carriage recently, and as such I have no friends here, nor am I renowned in this area. That being the case, why did you ask for me? In addition, you mentioned that you've done this in the past, which implies that in the past you've hired other adventurers. How about them? Ains' gaze was keen under his helmet. He did not know why the boy had called him out. If he had been exposed, then he would need to change his disguise and his approach to things. Ains studied Fyria closely, though he could not see his eyes, due to the hair concealing them, but he could not tell what the boy truly wanted. Could it be that he was overthinking this? Just as Ains was beginning to get suspicious, Fyria replied, the adventurers I hired in the past have all left Irantal for another city. That's why I was looking for new adventurers. Also, actually, I heard about what happened in the inn from one of its guests. What happened in the inn? Yes, I heard that someone effortlessly threw an adventurer one rank higher than himself. I see. Ains had planned to use a show of strength to increase his renown. Had this boy taken the bait? Once more, as suspicion welled up in Ains, Fyria smiled and pointed to the plate on Ains' breastplate. Plus, copper-ranked adventurers are cheaper, right? Hopefully we'll get along for a while yet. Haha, I do hope so. Ains understood how it was like to hire an untested rookie. He slowly felt himself lowering his guard, but there was one thing that worried him. If that really happened, as Ains thought about this, the other were asking questions one by one, which Fyria took in stride. After there were no more questions, Fyria announced, then, let's move out once we're ready. Part 5. In the dead of night, a hooded person entered the giant graveyard of Irantal, with steps that made it seem as though it were gliding across the ground. The person's hooded, jet-black cape, and the way its waist and shoulders did not move up and down as it advanced was quite peculiar, resembling a ghost when viewed from afar. The figure deftly avoided the magical illumination of the tomb, and proceeded ever inward. Before long, the figure arrived at a mausoleum, and shed its hood. The figure was a young woman of around 20, in the flower of her youth. She had a pretty face, and she was cute in the way of a kitten or other small animal. Still, while she looked adorable, there was a carnivore's predatory nature hidden under that face of hers. I'm here. As she spoke in playful tones, the girl ran her fingers through her short blonde hair and pushed open the stone doors to the mausoleum. The noises of clattering metal came from under her cloak, like the sound of chain mail. Once inside the mausoleum, all the slabs for corpses were empty. The grave goods for the deceased had already been taken away. Perhaps it was the scent of all the incense absorbed by the stone, but a fragrant smell tickled the girl's nose. The girl furrowed her brows, then headed steadily inwards. HM. The girl pressed on an unobtrusive little carving as she hummed. As the carving moved, there was a click as something made contact with something else. A moment later, the sound of grinding came forth. The slabs slowly moved aside, and a path leading downstairs appeared. I'm coming in. With those sing-song words, the girl descended the staircase. It curved halfway, and led to a wide open space beneath the earth. Although the walls and floor were made of mud, they looked like they had been reinforced so they would not collapse so easily. The air was relatively clean. The airflow to this place was good, which kept the air in here fresh. However, this was not part of the graveyard. It was something far more malevolent in nature. Menacing tapestries hung on the walls, with several crimson candles made from fresh blood below it. They gave off a pale radiance, as well as a smell of burning blood. The flickering flames generated countless shadows, and there were several holes here, big enough for people to pass through. The unique corpse stench of low-tier undead wafted out from those holes. The girl looked around, and her eyes stopped on a certain place. A creepy guy who's hiding in a corner. You've gotta guessed. The man watching his surroundings from his hiding place in the dark corners of the room heard those words, and his shoulders trembled. Hi, I'm here to meet Kotsi-chan. Who's supposed to be here, is he? The man seemed a little lost as to what to do, and as he heard the sound of footsteps again, his shoulders shook once more. It's fine. You may leave now. After the newcomer spoke to the man, he revealed himself. He was a skinny man. His eyes were sunken in, and his face was a corpse-like pale white, which could be summarized in the word lifeless. His scalp was bereft of any hair, nor were there any eyebrows, eyelashes, or any body hair at all. He gave the impression that he was completely hairless. Given that, there was no way to tell his age at all, but since there were no wrinkles on his skin, he probably was not that old. The man was dressed in a dark red robe that was the color of dried blood, and wore a necklace made of the skulls of small animals. His hands were so shriveled that they resembled claws, and his fingers, tipped with dirty yellow fingernails, were wrapped around a black staff. Rather than a human, he looked more like an undead monster. Hi, Kotsi-chan. The man frowned as he heard the girl's playful greeting. Can you not address me like that? It'll damage the reputation of Zuranon. Zuranon. They were a powerful and evil secret society, counting several veteran magic casters among their number, and led by a wise leader. After orchestrating several tragedies, they had become enemies of the countries in the region. Really? The fact that the girl did not wish to change the way she addressed him made the man frown even more. And then? Why did you come here? You know I'm infusing energy into the orb of death, right? If you're here to make trouble, I have ways to deal with that too. The man narrowed his eyes, and tightened his grip on his staff. No, Kotsi-chan, I just came here to bring you this. The girl flashed him a coquettish smile, and reached around under her cape. There was the sound of clattering, and then the girl triumphantly produced the item she had been looking for. It was a circlet. Countless small gems adorned thin, metallic threads, looking for all the world like a spider web covered in water droplets. The item was exquisitely made, and in the middle of the circlet, where the wearer's forehead would go, was a large black crystal. This is... The man could not help but stare in silence. Although he had only seen it from a distance, there was no mistake here. This was the crown he had seen once before. The symbol of a Miko princess, the crown of wisdom. This is one of the treasures of the slain theocracy. Correct, I saw a cute girl wearing this strange crown, but it looked so wrong on her head that I took it off, and then I was so surprised. She went mad, peeing and crapping herself. The girl convulsed in laughter. The Miko princesses stood at the heart of the slain theocracy's rituals. There was no way that she, as a former member of the Black Scripture, would not know what would happen when she snatched the crown of wisdom away from its bearer. After all, when the time came for a new Miko princess to be appointed, the job of the Black Scripture was to remove the crown from its current wearer, and then promptly send the now insane Miko princess to be with the gods. Still, it can't be helped. It's the only way to obtain this. It's the fault of the person who made the crown. He's the one to blame. There was no way to safely remove the crown of wisdom. The only option was to destroy it. However, the crown would delete the wearer's personality, and turn a human being into a magic item that could use incredibly high-tiered spells, so nobody would do anything wasteful like destroying it. Still, there were such madmen around. Humph, to think you'd betray the Black Scripture for such trash. Why not steal one of the divine artifacts of the 6 gods? Calling it trash is too mean. The man laughed at the girl who puffed up her face. Nothing wrong with calling it trash, right? Girls who can wear an item like this are 1 in a million. Finding a wearer for this would probably be impossible, even in the slain theocracy. The slain theocracy was the only one in the surrounding countries that kept detailed registers and genealogies of its citizens. Therefore, by consulting those registers, one could easily find a wearer for the item, in other words, a sacrifice. Without that, it would be hard for even Zuranon to find such a person. But really now, it's impossible to get those artifacts after all. That antique show is guarded by the strongest monster of the Black Scripture, that ancient beast with the blood of the 6 gods that's beyond the realm of humanity, a godkin, huh? Is that fellow really that strong? I've only heard about it from you. It's stronger than the idea of strength. The relevant information has been sealed up, which is why you don't know if someone who knew about it was interrogated with mind-affecting magic. It would be really bad. I've heard that if the secret got out, it'd lead to total war with the surviving true dragon lords, which means the slain theocracy would get destroyed in the crossfire, so I hope you'll pretend you never heard any of it. I find that hard to believe. Well, anyone who hasn't seen that power would think so. Well then, let's get down to business. Khajiit Dale Bedantal, are you willing to help me out as a fellow member of the 12 executives? The girl's tone finally changed. Oh, showing your true face at last, oh fragment of Quintia? But don't call me Dale. I've cast away that baptismal name. Then, don't call me a fragment of Quintia, HM? Call me Clementine. Clementine, what do you want me to help you with? There's a pretty outstanding talent holder in this town, no? Maybe that guy could wear this item. I see, that guy from the stories. Still, you could easily handle the task of kidnapping a single human being by yourself, no? That's right, but I'd like some sort of confusion while I make my move. I see. A distraction. Will you flee, huh? What about it? What if I was willing to help with your ritual? It's a good deal, right? The man, Khajiit, narrowed his eyes and smiled evilly. Wonderful, Clementine. If you're willing to help me, I can carry out the rite of death. Very well, I shall aid you with all the resources at my disposal. Clone. New paste. Few persons can be made to believe that it is not quite an easy thing to invent a method of secret writing which shall baffle investigation. Yet it may be roundly asserted that human ingenuity cannot concoct a cipher which human ingenuity cannot resolve. Edgar Allan Poe. Oh. 183,171 pastes opened. Based on an original idea from sebsavage.net. Sam and Max.